Hey everybody, I'm your host Vincent Ackard here with the Monstruck Outlaws of the List podcast, joined with Phil Vichinanza. Phil, how are you doing tonight? This is episode number 29, one more away from episode number 30.
Yeah, we're getting close, and this will be our last episode for 2020. I mean, I'm sure you caught the calendar. Next week's going to be Christmas, and then after that will be New Year's Day. So we'll be back here ready to rock for 2021, but we do have one more great episode ready for you here tonight to close out our 2020.
You're definitely right on that. We have a great episode for you tonight and a great guest. This guy's accomplished a lot. Phil, let's introduce him.
Absolutely. Hey, we always like to tell different stories on here, and this is a great example of somebody that has a lot of great stories, and he's going to share a great variety of them here tonight. He's been in the motorsport business for over 30 years. One of those guys that's really, truly done it all. From Checkered Flag Promotions, Ed Beckley.
Big Ed, welcome to the show. How are you doing tonight?
Hey, man, I'm rocking out to some of my boy Sammy,
Oh, yeah.
Over the good tunes here tonight, Ed. It's great to have you with us.
You know what? I wouldn't have missed this for nothing. Trade this for shopping, for Christmas shopping. No, I ain't doing that.
Oh, man.
I'm glad you guys got a good thing here. Last week, of course, you had one of my boys on that we had a great time this summer with him and his dad. I mean, those two guys, and if you don't know who it is, I won't say. We'll just let you guys go back to that podcast last week and see. Cool deal. Fun stuff. I'm enjoying it.
Definitely. It's an honor having you on tonight. And we're going to start it off with a question I usually like to ask at the beginning is, how did you get your start with motorsports?
Well, long story made short, my mom and dad were very much into motorcycle racing and stuff like that. My dad raced way back in like 1920 something when he was a young guy. And we went all over the place to watch flat track motorcycle races. And then we got into doing the stock cars and sprint cars and then drag racing. Next thing you know, I'm a show off just as well as my dad was. He used to stand up on the saddle and ride clear through town on his Harley. That was what he did, surfed it, so to speak. And so next thing you know, he found out that I was doing wheelies going down the street, and I was actually doing a wheelie sitting on the motorcycle backwards, and this guy stopped me, and I thought he was mad at me, and he had a thrill show called the Death Riders of all things, and they were from Illinois, and he was the same guy that actually was the first person to do anything with the Jackson 5. Okay, so he's a big guy. I got a lot of connections, and next thing you know, I started doing motorcycle jumps and traveled all over the United States. And I've been in every arena you could think of: the Silverdome, the Superdome, the Kingdome, Madison Square Garden. Some of these things are gone. The Garden will never be gone. But anyway, and done jumps and also put on shows and stuff. We went doing jumps and stuff in '84 for a lot of, the biggest name in the business, of course, was US Hot Rod. And actually, it was called SRO Pace at that time. And so, traveled around, did that. And I thought, I think I'll become a monster truck promoter. And so I did. And the rest is history. That was a long time ago. Fun stuff.
So it came to the fact that you started jumping the motorcycles, like you said. Let's get into that a little bit. I mean, where did your passion come from with motorcycles?
I think my dad, my grandfather, and my father both had Harleys. And then myself, when I was 14 years old, I had a Harley Sportster. That was my first motorcycle. I rode motorcycles. The first bike I ever rode was a Harley Hummer, which was a 175, and it was about the size of a Sportster. It was pretty tall. I barely could reach the ground, and I was 10 years old. And just being around my mom and my dad and parents and going to racing and all that, it gave me. And besides that, when you ride a motorcycle, you become one with that, and that was always a good feeling. That's like a dance partner that couldn't make no wrong moves unless you did it yourself. I've made some wrong moves. Go for it.
So you talk about being one with the motorcycle. You actually jumped cars. Now, do you remember your first time jumping cars, and what was that experience like?
First time professionally was in a little town called Dighton, Kansas. It was right next to my hometown of Scott City, Kansas, which is 4 miles west of nowhere. Literally, it's out in the middle of nowhere. Western Kansas is pretty flat, kind of like your third grade girlfriend, so to speak. But anyway, won't go there. But traveling around and stuff like this, going all over the place, I always wanted to do something where I could be self-employed. And I got to do this jump at a VFW sponsored demolition derby. That's pretty cool. In Western Kansas, that's about as cool as you could get for a while. And I did that jump, and that town was only 2,500 population. The county is Lane County. I don't know if there's maybe 6,000 people there or something like that. And when I did this jump, Scott City was only 24 miles away from there. So half of the people came from Scott City and half of them came from Dighton and Lane County and stuff like that. And it filled that place up, oversold the grandstand, standing room only, all the above. So it was a very successful one for them, and I didn't crash, so it was successful for me. And I got a lot of good press about it, as much as you could get back then. We didn't have internet, but newspapers and stuff like that picked it all up, and here I was rocking, ready to go. And after that, it became just bigger and bigger for me. I've been very blessed.
You make a good point. You do mention there wasn't social media back then, and making yourself stand out could be very difficult. So what were some ways that you made yourself stand out, maybe against some of your other competitors that are also in the stuntman business at that time?
Weighed 326 pounds. That's what it was. And the motorcycle that I was jumping was 60 pounds lighter than me. So I was kind of like a jockey who outweighed his horse. So the media loved me. They liked me because somebody once in a while thought I was funny or something like that. But I also had something to say, and that was I didn't back down from anything, And I was an ex-boxer and street fighter and all the above. So I'd had my knuckles scraped up before. So I wasn't going to stop doing this till I really got to be out of Scott City, Kansas, and which was not, that's where my hometown is, but I wanted to go bigger. And so, going to Madison Square Garden, that was probably the biggest thing. That was the coolest thing. I was in front of way more people at the Silverdome or just any place else, a lot of places, but Madison Square Garden was the ultimate. That was a cool deal.
Well, that's a great mecca of a venue. You said it perfectly. And great time to mention, if you guys are watching with us live, make sure you leave a comment or a question for Ed. We'll definitely get to all the fan questions here tonight. And make sure you're liking and sharing this podcast video so everybody could jump in on the discussion here with Ed. And you know what, Ed, when I was reading a little bit on your bio, it said that you were a safety consultant for K&K Insurance for numerous years. How did that come about, and did that have any tie-in to what you do now with the motorsport promoting?
Well, I'll tell you what, there was like 6 or 7 of us, but I'll rattle off some names that you might know. Roger Penske, you know that guy?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, well, he was at that, also part of that 7 person deal. Earl Baltes that had Eldora Speedway, he was there, and quite a few other people. Dallas Gardner, who's head of NHRA. I'm telling you, we there was 7 of us that K&K flew in, and just they wanted to address and have the promoter be the one that told people what to do. So we also, at that point in time, monster trucks and stuff was pretty rock and rolling pretty good, but really no safety rules that the insurance knew that they could write, so to speak, and have them be the whatever you want to call it, the go-to with it. So I wrote the first set of insurance rules for anybody that they recognized. I mean, they had heard from this or that, but mine was so deal that it actually cut me out of some of the seating that I had been doing, because I got to looking at it and went, okay, we need to be 10 feet tall before anybody sets there. So that cuts out 4 or 5 rows or 8 rows or 10. Now there's a lot more. Now these stadiums where we get going so fast and stuff like that, that's why you see whole sections closed, like on the end down there. Thank God, Monster Jam did that in Vegas there a couple of years ago, closed that whole section. We'd have made the 10 o'clock news, and I don't like making the 10 o'clock news with something like that.
No, that's a fair point. Safety is always the number one priority at any motorsport event, and I know you pride yourself in that as well. Kind of looking back to when you were on the motorcycle, you mentioned that you are big at Beckley. Did you have to have a special built motorcycle for the jumps that you were doing because of your weight, or for what kind of stunt you were doing?
That thing was stronger than a D6 cat. If that tells you anything. No, I'll tell you what, shock absorbers, on the rear, of course, and front forks, that's where a lot of what was, and making sure the wheels were good and stuff like that. I mean, you're using spoke wheels, and spokes loosen up, and so all the time after a jump, we'd be going through the rims and all that stuff. But having the best shocks, just kind of like monster trucks, I mean, there's a reason why those things got 2 per corner or 4 per corner or whatever it may have. And they're big, big solid pieces of metal that are going up and down and dampening and stuff like that. Well, I didn't have that much. I didn't need that much because, I didn't outweigh the motorcycle that much, but it was a lot. And you were coming down with the force of about 6 Gs. So what that means is the motorcycle weighed 280. I weighed 350, sometimes clear up to almost 400 pounds. So by myself. And so you add those 2 together, times 7. That's how hard it was landing on the other side. And I'm telling you, it felt like the Jolly Green Giant was trying to rip the handlebars out of your hands. And that's why everybody goes, oh, did you work out? Work out. I pushed a lot of weight up and down and up and down and up and down. And getting off my whole upper body strength, because holding on to that thing was like wrecking a Bramer bull, so to speak,
Another thing, while reading your bio, I realized that you actually held the record for jumping a bike with 2 people. Now tell me how that was like and how that idea came about.
I'll tell you what we're doing. Lived in just north of Scott City, out on a little farm. And Linda and I were there, my ex-wife, and she was over doing ditches, and I was on the phone with the guy from Canada Dry, and he was wanting me to come to Ohio and do this big show. And what else can you do? And I said, well, couldn't jump this, jump fire, this, that, and all the other. And he goes, well, what about something special? And I looked over at her and I go, I got it. He goes, what's that? How about we jump with two people on the same motorcycle? Linda stopped and turned around and looked at me. And he said, you got somebody in mind? I said, yeah, I got somebody in mind. She's over there shaking her head. And I got off the phone and she goes, I'm not doing that. I'm not doing that. And finally, I talked her into doing it. And I said, well, what are you scared about? Well, I want to practice. Okay. So we were all the way to Dover, Ohio, where that show was, drove in the fairgrounds gate. She turned around and looked at me and she goes, you didn't do this on purpose, did you? I go, what's that? We haven't practiced. I said, hell no. If we're going to crash, we're going to do it in front of a crowd where we're going to get paid for it. That's how that went down.
Well, we're on the topics of setting records and doing special stuff. Another thing you did was jump 5 automobiles. Tell us about that experience. That was pretty interesting.
5? How about 15?
There you go.
15 full-size cars before, and that was 176 feet. A football field is 300 feet long, so over 50 yards. That's nothing compared to what these guys are doing now. Some of them are jumping 300 feet. I mean, they're dwarfing what I did, but they also don't weigh as much as their motorcycle or more, you know? So, I mean, I feel like what I did was great at the time, and what it did is I made a really good living at it, traveled around all the United States. I would leave, guys, in January and not come home to Scott City, Kansas until October. And that's the kind of job that I had. It was awesome. Traveling around on one big giant vacation. And that's where I learned a lot about promoting, because I was at circle tracks and drag strips that, getting that kind of knowledge from those guys was, whatever you want to call it, is invaluable. It really was. It was awesome.
Well, another one of those guys that you learned a lot from is the late Bob George, the man that created the USHRA. How did that relationship come about to where you and Bob became close friends?
Bob was, wow. I don't want to get emotional here, but he really meant a lot to me. He was the guy that that ran the SRO pace. He was it. Everything came down to him. And I told him, I called him up and actually got through. The secretary said, oh yeah, he's expecting your call. I'm like, what? And he goes, Big Ed Beckley. You're kind of a big deal, aren't you? And I said, well, 6'2", 300. He said, I know all your stats. And I said, okay, well, she said you're expecting my call. So yeah, he says, I was getting ready to call you. So, good minds think alike. And I said, so where are we at with this? I said, you know what I do? You know what I probably want to do? And he says, you want to come jump at my monster truck shows and stuff like that, my motorsports spectaculars? And I said, yeah, exactly. And so I met him in Oklahoma City. He was doing an event down there. And I walked up to him, and I also met not Jan Gabriel, the second. I lost it now. Anyway, the Oklahoma City announcer, I just lost it. So anyway, I go there and meet Bob, and we became really good friends right away. And, I just decided that this was the guy that could probably put me over to do whatever, at that time, national TV was 3 different stations. You didn't have Fox, you didn't have anything. You had ABC, NBC, CBS. So getting on national TV was wonderful. That was what could make me more than just the backyard little star. And so what I did is I really, really wanted to excel. So the first one he gave me was the Silverdome, and I showed you guys my contract from that the other day. And in 1984, I was on contract for $5,000 for one night, one jump, with my ex-wife on the back of the bike. Well, she wasn't my ex at that time. That'd have been a better story, wouldn't it? But anyway, I did it. And you know what? I didn't get paid $5,000. Oh, that's what everybody wants. Oh, what happened? No, I got paid $10,000. They gave me a bonus a $5,000 bonus because I got so much media. I went around to all the TV stations, radio, newspapers. I was everywhere. I even went down to Toledo and was on their stations, Saginaw, and I got all this publicity. And we put 71,000 people in the Silverdome that year. The guy, get this, the guy was out of beer by 10 o'clock. They couldn't get any in delivered because of the big blizzard outside. It was terrible. Everybody came and they all got snowed in. They almost didn't get home. But of course, if Michiganders, don't bother them. But like I say, the guy sold over $100 and some thousand worth of beer by 10 o'clock, and the show went on to about 11:30. Those were the days. Oh my God, crazy stuff.
Do you have a favorite memory, or if that is it, but do you have another favorite memory from working with Bob and the USHRA?
Well, when Bob, I was going around and we were coming to kind of like the end of the year, and I was jumping in St. Louis at the football field there, and he was him and Ed Thayer and Tony Vaccaro, the three, the promoters. That was them. They were the guys that owned SRO, and SRO, of course, stood for standing room only, and that's what Bob wanted, was everything to be standing room only. And that year we were doing it. We were going everywhere, and I was walking down there and I saw him, and I handed him an envelope, and I said, when you get a chance, open this up. So all of us are walking up to the press box, or up to the elevator to the press box, and Bob opened it up, and I mean, he literally, got very teary-eyed, and he literally cried right there. And what it was a ring that I had given him, what's called a signet ring, and it's flat on top where your hand, your finger will show you, but it's flat on top. And then it said, thanks from, Big Ed Beckley on it. And it had a big diamond in it. And I gave that to him. Nobody had ever done something like that. So that was the coolest thing outside of going to the shows. One of the really cool thing over the shows that we did one time, I would say was probably the most coolest deal was did the PR in Madison Square Garden show. And I had Bigfoot outside on the sidewalk crushing a cab. Okay, I don't know if you guys, I think one of you knows something about New York. Everybody hated the cabs back then. This was 1984. And I mean, it was crazy. So, crazy. Crushed a cab right downtown. And, the TV stations there, we filled that place up. We did. Sold it out 2 nights in a row. Fun stuff. That was the coolest thing.
Got a lot of fan comments in here. We got one from Kirk Nagy, and he says, what's the most dangerous stunt you've done?
Kurt, way to go. That was a good one. Probably jumping over 2 helicopters while the blades were going. And I was really into that. I mean, it was cool because I came up with it. About that same time, there was a guy running around with a big old hammer smashing stuff. I think you guys knew who that was. And as a comic. And so what we did is we called it the world's largest human Vegematic. That's what I called it. I said, if I land in the middle of this helicopter, I'm going to be going everywhere, no matter what. So it was pretty intense. And the first time I did it, the second one sucked me in because the air is pulling down and it was dead air. And all of a sudden, boom, I just stalled out and hit the end of the landing ramp. And I put my foot down because the bike went crossways. My foot stuck on the ramp for a second and it dislocated my hip and hyperextended my knee. In other words, it didn't bend like this. It bent that way, too far out, the opposite direction. Oh, good God. That was off the hook. Yeah, that wasn't any good. So that one took a bad one. But after that, I did it about 4 or 5 other times. And then I just decided, you know what? One of these times may not be so lucky. So I quit doing that. Let's put it that way.
We have one of our past guests and one of our frequent viewers. Shout out to Terry Woodcock. He wants to know, how many monster trucks have you named? I know you chose the name for a couple of ours.
Yeah, Terry. So a lot of Bill Payne's. Rockstar. That was my idea. I can't even think of all of them. I would say 30 monster trucks. There's at least 10 of them out there now still going along. I just named the Texas Outlaw for Ricky Fowler since he bought that truck from up at the Alberta guy, and kind of made it. It just looks like a Texas Outlaw, that old hot rod looking truck. But that's was my passion, was to make these things bigger than what they were. Monster trucks have kind of gotten blasé, I'm going to say, so to speak, in a way. The showmanship is hit this largest, biggest thing you can at WFO, and hopefully you do hit the cameras upstairs, hanging down. That's what they'd like, I guess. So it's got a little different. Back then, we were more or less in show business. I mean, when we did the national anthem and stuff like that, and we grabbed the flag and took it from truck to truck and waved it and all that, that was just the start. But as I was telling somebody, the guy that used to drive, Todd Frolick, that used to drive barefoot, the show starts when you guys leave your shop. So make sure you don't have a Gravedigger shirt on if that's not your truck. You know what I'm saying? So, I've definitely named some of them. Gravedigger wasn't one of them. That'd have been cool.
Another fan question is from Brandon Lockwich, and he says, always been a big Vorian fan. How did you come into owning Vorian when you had it?
Well, it came available. It's almost like eBay, I mean, I got a note, and the note said, "Hey, I'm selling Vorian," and I was like, "I'm buying it." And so went and took care of it and all this stuff, and then went and took it up to Oklahoma to a guy that does drag racing jets. Finally got that thing working. It was a pain. I mean, it was just, that was the original Vorian. It was the original. So it was archaic, let's put it that way, in today's electric stuff, electronics and all that. And we got her fixed up, and people loved it. And I think it's good for another shot, maybe right now. I mean, if I had Vorian this year, I'd probably be using it. It's something different. It's a unique.
Jason Court is in the comments, and he says, hope you're doing well, Ed. Hopefully we can do some shows sometime in the future.
That guy right there is my target. I want him. Jason already knows that. He can almost ask the price that he wants, whatever that is. Jason, I'm looking at you, telling you, dude, get the heck out of Canada and come down here where we can do some shows. I'm ready for him.
He'll get there. Don't worry. But when it did come time, what was the decision to get into promoting your own events? I mean, that's a big leap from being a performer in the events to now being in charge of them.
Well, the money, I guess. No, really, when this whole deal started, and I was doing demolition, the first thing I ever did was a demo derby and sold the place out. And I was only like 20 years old, something like that, and sold the place out. And it was in my hometown, 2,000 people. We stuffed probably about 2,500 in there, and they were hanging from everywhere. And that wasn't the first demo derby had ever been there, but it was the best. That's what I said. I think that was the line I used. So, got to doing racing like that, and then I went into did sprint cars and stuff, and ran the Dodge City Speedway down at the old fairgrounds for a long time, almost 20 years. And then I started jumping again, and that was in, that's what started the whole thing with SRO in 84, excuse me. And so after I was out with them and stuff like that, then I thought, well, why don't I do this? Why am I not doing this in the summertime? And so the very first show I ever put on with monster trucks, And it's actually a picture of that's on our website at No Limits Monster Truck. There's a picture of the old Ram Tough truck. I don't know if you ever heard about that, but it had tractor tires on all corners. Had two on each corner, in other words. And it was pretty good. A guy by the name of Blaine Barr from Great Bend, Kansas, brought that thing to Winfield, Kansas. There was 4,800 people there. And again, the grandstand held about 4, and it was crazy. And people went nuts there. You know who else was there? Cliff Starbird was there. And he was there with his Camaro mud racing truck. And he also had an old truck that he called Frankenstein. It was a mud racer. Guess what? You guys know what happened after that, right? Right after that, all of a sudden he found some 66s, and next thing you know, he became a big star in this business.
So when you were in the early stages of promoting your own events, what were some of the early struggles that you encountered?
Oh, man. Talking these the place that you did think you'd have a problem would be fairgrounds and stuff like that, because they don't get any rent. I mean, they've got lots of open dates and stuff, and but getting dates and stuff, and I'm not talking about with some good looking girl. We're talking about a date you can put on that calendar, and you can fill it with monster trucks and buy advertising and roll the dice, and hopefully it works. And so that was basically it. It's just and then I finally started getting into arenas and things like that. And I became involved with a guy that actually bought, I won't mention this person's name, but he bought this guy out. And the company at the time was called Motorsports of America. And he bought him out. And he was also the guy that actually built Lake Havasu. You guys familiar with that? That is where, yes, he's the guy that built it. He and a guy by the name of McCullough that owned McCullough Chainsaws. And the guy that I knew was Gene Vogt. And Gene called me up and said, well, I bought this company and blah, 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 blah. And things aren't going good. And he said, I want you to run it. Wow. Okay. So what do I need to do? Well, I want you on an airplane. He said, there's an airplane ticket sitting at American Airlines in Wichita, Kansas. And he said, can you fly down here? At that point in time, I was like, heck yeah. So I went down there. Next thing you know, I took it over, and then I got him back his money. I made him back his money, which he'd spent $1.2 million on this, and made him back that money. And he came to Texas, where I just moved to here to Little Pucker Brush, Bridgeport, Texas, and it's outside of Fort Worth. And I moved down here to get out of the Kansas weather and to a real live airport, because the DFW is 35 minutes away. So I moved down here, and all of a sudden Gene says, I'm coming. And I go, you're what? And he said, yeah, I'm flying down there tomorrow. I said, what are we doing? He said, I just got something for you. It brought me basically the contract and all that stuff that all of a sudden I owned Motorsports of America. He just gave it to me. And he sold it to them for $1 million, or bought it for $1.2 million, and then gave that to me because I had made his money back for him, and he was happy. He was a landman. He knew nothing. When you said supercharger, he thought that's what you were talking about when somebody used a credit card too much. He didn't know nothing about these things. And so, and I didn't try to educate him. I just went and ran his shows and took care of him, and he made a lot of money, and he paid me well, and so now here I am.
Another one of our past guests in the comments, and that's the good old Charles Benz. And he says, hey, Big Ed, do you miss Garden City? Hope you're doing great. One of my favorite shows, Crazy Town.
Exactly. Charles Ben is, man, that guy right there needs to be in a truck. I don't know why he's not. I don't know what the heck happened, but I'm going to tell you something. Mr. Benz there can drive the wheels off of one of them, and he is probably the most crowd favorite. If you had the ultimate that I can see right now would be to have Charles Benz. I'm going to say, of course, one of the Digger guys, one of the family, and then I would want, who, Rockstar for sure. because Bill and this guy and that guy, 3 or 4 of those guys, you wouldn't need anybody else at your shows. I mean, people just go nuts over what those drivers say that I'm talking about, Charles and those guys. And like I say, they followed it big. So all you had to do is say you had, those guys coming and whatever. And man, I mean, people loved Charlie. They really did.
Charles also said rental car battle. Ed, he wants you to pick Charles Benz or Rick Long.
Oh my God. I don't think either one of them. I'd probably have to rent the car for them. I just got a hunch that they've probably been blacklisted by every rental car agency out there. I would say Charles Benz is going to win the race, and Rick Long will be the first one to wreck.
Never a dull moment when you got Charles Benz around.
No, love that guy.
Got another comment here from CJ Burris. He says, "Hey Ed, have you ever worked with So High 2 before?"
No. Boy, that's a new one. Am I lost?
No, it's an old school truck. It's from way back in the day.
So High 2? Was it out of Phoenix?
Yes.
You're talking? Okay. Yeah. Okay. Yes, I did work with him. I cannot remember the gentleman's name, but yes, I did work with them. Pretty much can't only find somebody I haven't with this business.
Well, you've worked with a lot of the people. So who are some of the favorites from over the years that stand out at the top? You said a lot of people, but who stands out?
I don't know. I would say, okay, I got to tell you my dentist story. Okay, so I was running a show for SRO Pace, and I got to hire the trucks, and I hired Dennis to come down to Salem, Virginia. Of course, he lived up just north of there, and he showed up and started unloading this bus and his trailer and all this stuff, and he and Julie, that was his ex-wife now, and so anyway, unloaded that thing and went out, and I mean, he is going crazy and stuff like that, and of course tore it all to hell, and didn't have any spares. He didn't have a spare tranny. He didn't have, just didn't have any spares. I mean, the guy was pushing big time, right? And so anyway, he was loading up, and I go out in the parking lot. I go, "What in the HELL are you doing, dude?" He said, "Well, I'm leaving. I'm done." I go, "Done? No, you're not. These people paid to see you, so you're going to stay here. You're going to sign autographs and stuff, or we ain't getting paid, dude." And he goes, "Really? You're just going to pay me anyway?" I go, "Yeah, if you stay here and sign autographs and put that truck back together, we'll put it on display." So that's what we did. And so Dennis was really ready to work and do whatever it took. He really was back then. That's something that everybody in the world that's in this business, they need to be checking out, that attitude. No matter what it took, that's what that man did. That's why he's so famous.
We got our Mini Monster dads in the comments. And I'm going to ask the question, what do you think about the Mini Monsters? I'm going to add to that with a comment from Mike Minner. He says, "Let's add those Mini Monsters to the show."
Mike Minter, let's get you to pay for them. Okay. It's a struggle to decide where's the top of that budget and where the bottom of that budget is. I'm going to tell you something about Mini Monsters. It costs almost the same to build one of them as a big one. One of my buddies, I'm not going to give you a name, but he's building a big truck right now, and he's got one of the most successful mini trucks there is, and from out in California. Now, I pretty much narrowed that down, and he's found out, it's expensive to go big and stuff like that. The minis, though, my insurance company, K&K, who was that guy that wrote those rules? I don't know who that was. Guess what? It says you got to have a license, a driver's license. And the reason is that came from an insurance thing. And so I'm not bad-mouthing the minis, but I'm telling you, my insurance says you got to have a driver's license. So that takes somebody at least 16 years old. Well, by then they're ready to go in a big truck, And I think the minis would be fun. I'd love to try them sometime. I just think, that got to get past that little hurdle first.
In due time, I'm sure. Don't worry about it. Another comment here from Ryan Me Young. He says, "Hey Ed, what day do we get started in Uvalde?"
He can start now. That's my track guy. There's been a few monster truck guys that probably didn't really understand that guy, but I'm going to tell you something. Ryan is a former AMA Supercross and arena cross racer. Also, he's X Games snowboard and freestyle guy and all that. But I'll tell you what, you put him behind the controls of a dozer or a skid steer, and a guy told me I did this, so I'm going to say he did this. He massages that. He massages that dirt into a great track that the motocrossers just go nuts for. And I'm ready for him to start. And they actually told us that we could start on Tuesday of that week. Our show is on the 2nd. So that means we would have to, what? You're kidding me. We've got to be up there for New Year's Eve in a town like Uvalde, Texas, that's plumb full of partier people. Oh boy, I don't know if I can stand that or not. But anyway, I'm ready for him. Ryan and Brian they're brothers and twins, and then Sammy, which is Brian's girl, his wife. That's who does our pit gate and stuff. So the trio, the three musketeers, I call them. They're great. Good job.
So over the years, you've given a lot of people opportunities with the monster trucks or whatever. Who are some people that we know now that got their start with Checkered Flag?
Probably one of the biggest ones in the business. You know that guy from, what is it, Tecumseh, Kansas? You guys know him?
It sounds familiar.
I think he had a truck that won the Felds deal. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, you can run, but you can't hide.
So, he started with me, and he actually met Dawn, his wife, at one of my shows, and which was in North Dakota, and that's where she was from. And so Jimmy and I did a lot of shows together. And you know what? Get this. He calls me up and he goes, "Hey, Ed." He said, "I don't know what to think about this." So what's that? He said, "I've got a call from United Sports, is doing stuff, USA Motorsports." And I said, "Yeah." And he said, "Well, they want me to do some shows." And I said, "Oh, dude, go for it." And he goes, "Go for it?" Yeah, I mean, it's not that I don't want you, but I want you to excel and go and get on national TV and do this and do that. Then come on back to mine deals once in a while, okay? And he said, "Well, yeah." And so Jimmy and I have been close friends ever since that day. And he's a good guy. Probably one of the hardest working guys in the business for sure. And Dawn is just turned out to be such a great lady for the motorsports. I mean, I would say that she's like the first lady of monster trucks, I believe. Not maybe the first one that did monster trucks or this or that, but she has definitely got the class and can talk good PR and all the above. Love those two.
Hey, so my buddy Brian Anger always chimes in with a comment before we get rolling here, and he wanted me to ask you about the last time you jumped your motorcycle. Do you remember where that was and what happened?
Last time I jumped it, that was only 3 years ago, and everything was cool. And it's just when I got off of it and load that thing in the trailer, I was done. That was it, just done. I'm done. I'm not going to do this no more. And now the last time I crashed and bad was in 2014, and I didn't quit jumping until 2017, 3 years ago. So, but that 2014 deal, I took a licking and kept on the ticking, but not much. I died 3 times in the helicopter from Hobbs, New Mexico to Lubbock, Texas. And you guys can go on internet and check it out. There's actually an interview of me in the hospital on Monday, and the accident happened on Friday. And then what was bad is with a brain injury, 3 days later, I couldn't talk, I couldn't walk. I went into a rehabilitation place, and actually right over here in Decatur, Texas. That was the #1 rehabilitation for the brain injury type deal in Texas. Couldn't believe it, over in Little Pucker Brush Town. And so they brought me back here, and I spent 27 days in there. And I don't have too many problems. If I get a little tired at the end of the day, I actually start stuttering and stuff, and I don't like that. But the last time I jumped, everything was cool. I just decided that was enough.
So you've had your fair share of wrecks over the years. I mean, that's the nature of the beast in your line of work. And, reading up on some of your stories, I caught one wreck you had in 1995 in Amarillo, Texas. It says you did an indoor jump over 10 cars. On Saturday, you couldn't stop, and he hit the hay bales, and you went flying end over end into the grandstands to the 5th row. Do you remember that wreck at all?
Oh, yeah. That was a good one. So, did you read the rest of that or hear what?
Well, I figured maybe you can finish.
I got it.
He skipped over it.
So anyway,
Yeah.
I hit this thing. What I did is actually the second day of what happened, I put bales up against the wall. Oh man, I hit those things, and it was like, God dang, sure wished I had. Okay, there's some more over there. So I went over and got some, and I put them out about 8 feet away from the wall, so it would slow me down. Oop, it didn't. All it did is it just launched me end over end up into the grandstand. I landed with my head in a seat, and I missed these people, and it was a gal with her kids. And okay, it's G-rated, but we'll be just a little bit off from that. When she stood up and screamed, she had wet her pants, and the whole world saw it. The whole arena saw it. Of course, I'm right there. I couldn't miss that. So, but that was probably the most craziest thing that's happened to me in a long time. Let's put it that way. And but yeah, we did it. We loved it.
Hey, that's the nature of the beast. That's all you can say. Oh man. Hey, so continuing with your stunt work, I know there was a period in the 2010s where you wanted to jump Snake River Canyon. What was going through your mind when you wanted to do that?
Big dollars. Yep, that's it right there. See that? That is exactly what that was going to look like. It was a Harley Davidson, and the motor and all that stuff. And of course, Kurt Winter, the guy that built my big red Harley, he was going to build the chassis and everything. What was cool is it would go through the air just like you see it, with the wheels tucked almost up into the fuselage part. And then when we got ready to land, it would extend out, and I'd had just about like monster truck shocks, like they were 16 inches long, of suspension, which 12 is what usually a motocross bike is. But I had a parachute. That thing would go to the apex with pushing, me up there boogie woogie real fast. And as I went up in the apex, then that's whenever the parachute would come out and hopefully land me safely on the other side. But it was a real life jump. I mean, I was going to hit a takeoff ramp with that, and right about there where that picture is, I've been doing about 240 mile an hour, and that's why those straps are kind of over holding me down and all the above. So it was going to be wild.
Why didn't it work?
Oh, well, it wasn't because of lack of money. We won the contest to get this thing, with a bid of over 948,000 or whatever it was, almost $1 million. And so we got the contract from the state of Idaho, but it had a deal with it that said that have to have the city of Twin Falls sign off on it. Well, they didn't do it. So long story made short, they was going to rent it to us, and then my attorney found out that there was a covenant on the land that where you couldn't do any kind of a money making deal, and so there you go. So I spent over $1 million and didn't get nothing but a whole lot of good pictures. That was about it.
So would you say that Evel Knievel was one of your influences, growing up or being in the stunt business?
Oh, definitely. Knievel was who we all wanted to be. I mean, watch that movie, way back when, and I was just like, oh yeah, that's me. That's me. That's me, but I look a lot fatter than him. So, but I had a lot of fun, guys. Had a lot of fun traveling around, seeing a lot of country, and got into this business, and it's been wonderful. So there you go.
Now you got that right. And hey, make sure you guys are liking and sharing this video. Make sure everybody can jump in here as we continue on sharing some stories and memories with the one and only Ed Beckley. And Ed, jumping back into the promoting game, you've been synonymous for being one of the top promoters in monster trucks, but it's not just monster trucks that you promote. You promote a lot of other events and a lot of other disciplines. What are some of those other types of entertainment that you do produce, and what goes through those processes?
Well, a few years back in 2009, I was actually awarded Track of the Year and Promoter of the Year for the World of Outlaw Sprint Cars. It's never been done before. And I was running a racetrack in Dodge City. So that was completely away from the monster truck thing. And it was kind of fun. And it was close to my hometown. I did it because my mom lived in Dodge City, or Scott City, which is only 85 miles away from that racetrack. And so she's kind of the one that talked me into it. And I'll be dang if she didn't die of cancer that year. And so I did my 3 years that I was supposed to do with the contract and got out of there. But I've ran a drag strip before. I ran a drag strip up in Illinois because this family got a hold of me and said, hey, our dad's had a heart attack and he's this and that. And he's got this drag strip. And I said, well, I haven't been around a drag strip for 20 years. It's got to be kind of the same. And I went and did that. And we sold the place out several times. And he got better. And so I got to go home. And I felt great about spending the summer up there. Did nothing but ride motorcycles and put on drag race. And that was pretty cool. So, and then mud bogging. What they used to call me was Doctor of Mud. When I was working for SRO, I was doing almost a lot of the events I did were mud bogs. Almost all of them were mud bogs. Mud bogs and three-wheelers, or mud bogs and motocross, or something like that. And we did a lot of stuff like in Troy, New York, and places like that never would have had any kind of a show. And we went all over the place with that. And I've learned to do that same thing with stuff that I do now. I've also done some professional wrestling. I mean, we put over 7,000 people in the arena in Billings during the fair. I had Jake the Snake and King Kong Bundy and Jimmy Superfly Snuka and all those legends. That was right after they basically got off of TV. And so I was lucky to have all of them there. And over 7,000 people. Thing averaged $20-some a ticket. Ooh, boy, that was a good one. Good stuff. Yeah.
Someone you may know is in the comments. It's Don Frankish, and he says, just saying hi, Ed. Good at hearing some of the old stories.
There you go. Don and his brother were two of the top guys that ever came out of Canada, I believe. Other than some that didn't own trucks that drove, for like Jimmy and stuff like that. But I'm going to tell you something. Frankish's has got some good ideas. And I see now that he sold that name or rented it or whatever he's done. I don't know what the business deal is, but I hope that he comes to the shows once in a while. I know he's kind of stayed away. It's kind of like this business is nobody wants to be that guy that just shows up and hangs around. I mean, it's kind of like the wrestling business. You don't see the old wrestling stars show up. They don't like to do that. If you're not in it, they don't want to be there. So, but this guy here, Don Frankish, one of the nicest guys you ever meet. His family's good people, and so hey, get some back bacon and some Eleanors. There you go.
Oh man, hey, another great comment from Terry Woodcock. It's a big one, so I'm gonna read it out loud first. It says, Ed let me out of my contract for first quarter so I can do the movie Serving Sarah in 2000. He said same thing to me, that he wanted to see me go make money and do good. Kind of like what you said to Jimmy Korean. Then when I was done, he gave me back my spot in all of his shows. It's 20 years later and I'm still doing it. Thanks, Ed.
Whoa.
And thanks to Gary Schott for the movie.
I'm going to tell you something that hit me right here. Terry, yeah, Terry's a good guy. Have Terry, or well, you may want me to tell you. I'm going to tell you. So Terry had this good-looking hauler, and he saved his money and bought this thing, and so he walked out, and there was some tough truck guys. This is in Wichita Falls, Texas, and there's some guys sitting on his fenders and stuff. And he's like, "Hey guys, can you guys not do that? This is brand new, and haven't put a scratch on it or anything." And it was sitting out behind the building in Wichita Falls. And so Terry came back and from, I think, going to dinner or something, and came back, and somebody had wrote F you and and you're set on the truck BS and blah blah blah. I didn't initial anything. You guys get the story. And so Terry looked around, didn't find them. They didn't show back up, and there was one of their cars sitting out there. So we don't know quite what happened. It's probably a safety thing that Terry was checking out, because he was doing freestyle. The next thing you know, he goes out the back door. We hear kind of a rustle, bustle, banging, and this and that. And then he comes back in, and he's all smile. You guys guess what happened, right? He went outside and did freestyle on that guy's car. Got the last laugh. There you go.
Said it best. Go ahead, Ed.
I said Terry's a good guy, and he's a heck of a builder too. I mean, let's get real. I mean, that guy built monster trucks and fixed monster trucks and came up with some of the wildest names and good names. And I mean, he's a legend. He's a legend.
Got another comment here from Charles Benz, and he says, "Big respect to your mom. I loved having a beverage with her after shows. She was a loaded pistol."
Oh, my mom and him. My mom was a giant at that time, about a giant 90 pounds, 4'11" and a half. And her and Charles would sit around in Garden City, Kansas. I guarantee, was one of probably the most favorite shows that man ever had, because everybody treated him well, and he had a great time. And my mom was there. She'd always cook for everybody. And so anyway, Charles and her would sit and BS for an hour or so after the show, or two. I mean, it was funny. And both of them sucking down that ice cold, I think it was Bud, if I remember right. But anyway, we had a lot of fun. Good stuff. Charles, again, is a good man. He's got lots of stories. He probably has got some on me too.
I'm sure next time we'll get Charles on here. We'll get some Ed Beckley questions.
If you ask him, whatever he tells you is going to be the truth, and it won't be over exaggerated. He won't have to. We've had some over exaggerated moments. Let's put it that way.
Oh man, I bet. Hey, try not to get back behind the curtain too much, but when you're promoting an event, for, let's say, for monster trucks, what are you looking for in terms of like a venue or some of like the logistics that put it all together that maybe makes you different than other promotions?
Well, you know what? We just went to a little town yesterday. I drove down to see this arena. One of my event directors, Charlie, one of my best friends, I call him a brother. And this guy's been through like 6 cancer operations. They've made his tongue out of his forearm several times, stupid stuff like that. I mean, but that's the kind of guy that don't quit, right? Well, that's me. I don't quit either. So that's what I think brought he and I together. But anyway, yesterday we went down to a little town outside, basically Austin or so, a little ways out. And, we found a venue down there. Went down there. This thing is 145 feet wide by 296 feet long. That's almost a football field. And it's got a good set of grandstand. It's got a great fence. It's safe. It's long. It's got dirt. It didn't cost me anything to bring dirt in and out of there. It's in a little town, but it's in a heck of an area that they hear about monster trucks, but the only time they see them is on TV. Well, we're fixing to bring it there, and that's a little. I'm telling you, I can't wait. Llano, Texas is spelled Llano. Have to look it up on your Google map and go, my God, Beckley, that is kind of in the middle of nowhere, and it's really not. It's in the middle of everywhere. That's what I like, going to towns like that. I mean, some of these events that we do, like Billings, Montana. I've been going there, my God, since the 70s, late 70s and 80s when they built that building. Like last year, our first show was in one of our first shows was in Meridian, Mississippi. We're back there again on January 29th and 30th, and it's a market that nobody'd really been to. I think Corso had done a show there a long time ago, and it didn't work out, I guess. And anyway, it was sitting there, and the guy says, "Well, I don't want monster trucks," and I said, "Me either." He said, "What?" I said, "I want fans. I want people." And I said, "But I can draw them with monster trucks and a supercross." And he said, "Well, let's do it." So we filled the place up, and that's the kind of attitude I like, is dealing. It's not just the venue, it's the building managers. And that's what I say. I have a personal relationship with the people in Belton, Uvalde, Billings for sure. I mean, I'm looking on my schedule over on the wall. I'm going to tell you something. You become good friends with those people. You really do. Good stuff. And they love what they do, and they love having us there because we take care of their building. Ryan don't leave the place. He and Sammy and Brian, they don't leave that facility on Monday until those building people have done a walkthrough over everything. So if he needs to move a little bit of dirt or something out in their parking lot to make them happy, we're going to do it. That's how it is. I love it.
So you've promoted events all over and in so many different shapes and sizes. And I'd have to ask, what's the largest venue that you've been a part of producing monster trucks?
For myself or with SRO?
For yourself.
For myself, it's going to be Pocatello. I actually did one in Grand Forks, North Dakota, but that, I don't know if anybody's ever made any money with that place. And I know that, other people go there now, but this place, it's right in the middle of where a lot of monster trucks are, and Pocatello, Idaho is hardworking people, male, female. They all drive pickups. That's the soccer mom vehicle of Pocatello is a jacked up, Ford pickup with headers on it or whatever, or a smoker. And that's what they do. They love it. And so when we first took that thing over, USA Motorsports had been in there before, and the most people they'd ever had was 4,200 people. So the thing holds 14,000. So the first year we went in, I said, I was talking to the building guy, and I go, I want that other grandstand open too. He said, well, what do you want it open for? I said, we're going to need it. He said, well, you got 7,000 on this side. We're going to need it. Well, you know what? God blessed me, and we were great. And when it came in, and Scott Sherb was there doing that show with me, and oh my God, it was big. And Brian Stalabot was there also. And it turned out great. Lots of good pictures and great crowd and a good show.
So we're talking about Pocatello, and I'll tell you this. when you're in Pocatello, you never know what you're going to see on that floor. I mean, you got some of the most unique tracks, whole bunch of trucks at Pocatello. What makes Pocatello so special?
I'm doing it. That's what I'm saying. And you liked it. And you liked it. And you liked it. That's what I like about it. It's the biggest event of its kind for the independent monster truck person. You can't really call Bigfoot independent, but I'm going to call him Bigfoot. You don't have to, that he's an independent, because he's not a corporate type, truck where this guy, I mean, they race. When they race, they don't care who they're racing against. They're racing to win. Those drivers are. Some of the best, I've had so many different Bigfoot drivers come to me and just said, well, what do you want? I said, you to do your best. I know you're not going to be doing backflips and stuff like that, because Bob Trent probably would freak right out. Right now, Bob Trent is on the line. He's watching this. I see that. And Bob probably shaking his head. Beckley, don't talk about what Bigfoot won't do. I got to. So, but we've got a great show. We've got people. This year would have been off the hook. I had guys that were doing soppies, guys that are doing backflips, guys that were going to try a new trick. I'm not even going to tell you what it is, but I'll tell you what, the truck twists in the air. Okay, that's the one that I can't wait to bring to Pocatello, and I've got the first time that it's going to be. So Pocatello, it's just so unique because the fans are setting right up on top of it. There is no end zone on either end, where in other words, there's no end zone seating. So that makes it really safe. And then on one end, we put the trucks on there, and we don't race towards them. We race against them. And then what we do is bring everything in there. We had 3 school buses last time. I mean, what the heck? But I've used school buses in Billings every year. A school bus in a hockey rink? Yes. It's bad to the bone. And the thing is that people want to see what they see on Monster Jam, but where's the buses at Monster Jam? Where's the trucks? Where's the cars? Where's the bathtubs? What happened to all that? Well, that you're going to see in Pocatello and more.
Well, there you go. You heard it right here.
Maybe even the kitchen sink, okay?
Furniture, you name it. It's going to be there.
That's right.
Well, we have another comment here from Terry Woodcock, and he says, you remember Bob Wilson, the manager in Kalispell, Montana? I just worked with his son on a Clint Eastwood movie in Albuquerque, Small World.
See that guy right there? Look what Terry's done. Everybody goes, oh, where are you going to get when you get to monster trucks? That guy is still getting it. He's still excelling with a Clint Eastwood movie. Can you believe that? Yes, I do remember Bob Wilson, the manager at Kalispell. And that's so cool, Terry. And I'm so very, very proud that he's my friend, that Bob is. And that Bob is still my friend. But Terry Woodcock is just a massive person, what all he could do. Great fabricator, ideas, all that stuff. And a gentleman. And the girls love him. And I think that sucks. I think that sucks big. It's okay.
Well, Phil, I think it's that time of the hour.
It's that time. It's that time of the show where we continue going down memory lane. Usually have a fancy video, but a little bit of shifting around. It is now time for Explain That Photo.
All right. Do the music for
us. Only if you can stand the answer, okay? Because it's coming from my heart. It's going to be the truth. Go for it. Show
That's
it.
What we want to hear. Well, here's the first picture.
Oh, Jesus. I actually got to 489 pounds at that time. And that was for the Bad Boys of Wrestling that I own. And at that time, you guys can see my nose was all jacked up. I had skin cancer, weighed 489 pounds. And I just said, they said, well, what do you think about Jake the Snake? And I said, I think everybody knows who Jake the Snake is except Santa Claus. That was my quote in that movie. And it was called Beyond the Mat. It won all sorts of awards.
Sure did.
Got another one right here.
Oh, wow. There you go. The Monster Blog crew. And this was, of course, what's that? That's Pocatello in the background, and there's buses and vans. Well, I think that's a Checkered Flag show, isn't it? For sure. Yeah. These guys had a lot of fun. I'm going to tell you something. Both of those two guys are some talented people, and they love monster trucks, you know. And you guys all know that the photographer used to be a wrestler too? You guys know that?
I don't know if I knew that.
I didn't know if I knew that either.
Yeah, you did. Give me another picture.
All righty. You asked for it.
Well, on the cover of Fortune magazine. Not bad, you know. And this was actually taken out at Texas Motor Speedway, and they'd taken the truck out there and stuff for us. And Michael Harper did that. It's back when he was running Carolina Crusher. And, you know, I thought it was pretty cool. Of course, the magazine was all about, they loved me having this big rival, which was Monster Jam at the time. You know, and they, just like I said, how does the upstart motorsport promoter dodge a $9 billion a year rival? I didn't care. I'm going to tell you, this is a story. You guys ready for this one? Here you go. So I got a phone call, and this guy named Bob. Bob says, Ed, are you still doing your monster truck show in Salt Lake in the first weekend of January? I said, yeah. He said, well, I'm working for, you know, Monster Jam now. And I said, oh, yeah, I know. And he says, well, we're going to be doing our show that same weekend. I said, say what? Really? Okay. And he goes, yeah. He said, what do you think about that? And I said, I think Salt Lake's got 2 places to go watch it. Great monster truck shows. And he said, so you're going to do your show? And I said, well, yeah. I said, you surely wouldn't expect me to back out, were you? I'm kind of thinking you guys ought to. And he said, well, we own the radio stations. That's back when Clear Channel owned it. And I said, I don't think so. So, okay, let's go. So guess what? We sold out. They didn't. We grossed over 200-some thousand bucks. They grossed about $139. So Bob pretty much had to, I don't know what that crow tastes like, whether he had enough barbecue sauce or whatever from up there in Kansas City. But yeah, that had to suck that we kicked their own butt with their own radio stations. Oh boy. So this is CNN. This happened in 1994, and I got a phone call, and I was up in Billings, Montana, and doing a show up there, Mud Bog and stuff, and he said, hey, I'm done with CNN, and we want you to come on our show on Monday morning to talk about Walinda walking across the cable from one building to another in Chicago. I said, well, I just got one question. What if he don't make it? Oh, we still want you there. And okay. So I said, well, I fly in at midnight on Sunday, and you want me to do this what time? You see what it says right up there, guys? 7:54 a.m. Central Time. I'd already been on for quite a while. So they picked me up right outside this office at about, I don't know, 5 o'clock in the morning. I'd had about 3.5, 4 hours of sleep, and crawling that, limo, went to sleep on the way to Dallas. And then we were on the air, and, they were really good, and they wanted me back. And so I've done a couple things for them, but I ain't doing them no more favors now. They're fake news. This is before fake news. Okay.
I know the picture. There you go.
Well, there we go. Okay, jumping over monster trucks. Turned out great, except I went flying out the back door end over end. And I had new leathers there. You can see how nice and bright and red they were. Okay. Well, when I landed and stuff and the thing went down and then it started going end over end, I left a big red trail out the back door on the ice and the snow. So feature my wife at the time, Linda, went running out there, and all she could see is this red. Thought it was blood, and it was a bad deal. It was really, went outside, and I was laying down, hurt, all really, and the EMTs are like, gotta lay down, gotta lay down. I said, hell no, I'll stand up. You guys lay down. You want to lay down? It's like 10 below zero outside, and I was freezing. But anyway, guess what? The next day, made it, no problem. Did good. Yeah, mud bogging. This is before kill radios. Thank God we had a switch on the backup. We could pull it out. That was our idea. Came out with that. And it's actually like a trailer plug-in. So when it went so far, it would actually pull loose and it'd kill the truck. Well, it killed it, and it was already right there. I cannot remember where that was at. I don't know. You guys know where it was at?
Oh, I can't tell. I see American Motors. I see.
It was
maybe one
yeah,
of
it was SRO store, I believe. And see, it was when we had the Budweiser deal and stuff like that. I really believe that this was, I'm thinking, Nashville, but I might be wrong.
Okay, yeah, I'm not sure myself.
Yeah.
Maybe one of our viewers might know the answer to that one.
Maybe.
But Phil, I think we have a video that might need some context.
Yes, and we're gonna play a video here. I know we talked about some crashes, so
Okay.
we have to play one.
Oh,
turn of events. Explain that photo. Explain that video. Here you go.
You want to show it again? Can you show it again?
Yes, go ahead. Yeah.
But watching the face first. So then the fireman, this was at Landover, Maryland for SRO at a hot rod truck and tractor pull and stuff, and a couple monster trucks I think was there too. So anyway, long story made short, the fireman come running over and hear my Harley sitting there screaming its guts out in third gear because I was doing about 60, 65 and third, went up the takeoff ramp, made the jump. Then, of course, I crashed face first into it, kind of knocked me out. That thing's sitting there screaming. He's going to pick it up. And I'm like, oh, no, it'll end up in about the 30th row. So I scampered over there on my hands and knees. And, boy, I mean, to tell you, Fat Boy can move if he needs to. And I got over there, and you know what? I used the kill switch. It was all wrangled off of it, and I had to put it up against something metal to ground it out. Got the thing stopped, and 2.5 hours later, I jumped it again. I had a broken hand and a dislocated left shoulder. The show must go on.
Hey, that's the mentality of being a showman. And make sure if you guys are liking this video, make sure you like the video and you share this video so everybody can find it and see it as we continue on here with Ed Beckley. And Ed, you've done a lot of unique things with the business, and you've always tried a lot of different things. And one of the things you've done a lot more recently, but I'm sure you've done it over the years, you've really implemented wrestling with monster trucks to the point where you've had a wrestling ring right on the monster truck track. What goes through your mind thinking to blend the two together?
It wasn't on the monster truck track. It was just in the middle of the arena. Okay, so it wasn't where they were supposed to run. Did we hit it? We hit one once up in Dayton, Ohio. I know that. But you know what? The wrestling deal had a lot of the same fans. Remember all the wrestling trucks that WWF had, and all the Stone Cold. Everybody had trucks, and so I went with that, and we had a truck too, and this guy had a truck, and Terry actually had a wrestling truck. He had Greg the Hammer Valentine, and then he had another one called Generation X, and both of those were wrestling trucks, Terry Woodcock, and that was fun stuff. People liked it. It was something different. It drew wrestling fans, and it did other stuff too.
Hey, so at the time, I won't tell nobody that happened. That didn't happen. It's just in our archives. That's okay.
Okay.
Hey, at the time of recording this interview, it's 2020, and it's no secret what this year has done for a lot of people, especially in the entertainment business. Everything came to a screeching halt, and for so many people, it still is at a halt. But you were one of the first promoters to not only get rolling, but really establish a tour with pretty much the same group of people, and you did that throughout the summer in 2020. Uh, what's going through your mind? What was your experience when everything came to a halt and you had to pick it back up again and try to get a tour going?
Well, the worst thing about that deal is when it dropped, was that I lost 3 really big shows, and one of them was Pocatello. I didn't get to do it. And so, that was not there. Bank account was getting tight and all this. And I thought, man, I haven't done any outdoor shows. I really kind of quit doing them. And, but I thought, you know what? Let me go do some. So I get a hold of several fairgrounds, start calling them. Of course, they're like, well, we got to do this. We got to do that. And so everything that they told, I started taking notes. I'm writing, as like I do when I'm sitting here. And so when I found out what the actual things that the, what do you want to call it, the Board of Health was worried about, it was simple. And so I implemented my own set of structured things that we had to do this. And the governor of Montana shook his head and goes, we ain't got nothing to say. Come to Montana. South Dakota did the same thing. Idaho, same thing. Wyoming wasn't letting anybody do anything. Actually activated us to be able to do something. We still have a deal with it, but we can go there and do it, any kind of show. I don't know if anybody else has got that. I heard, yeah, there you go. I heard that actually some of the shows that were scheduled for Wyoming this year in first quarter are done because they probably didn't have the plan. And so people had to come up with that. So thank God I had some experience in dealing with that, and dealing with the state people and the county people and all that. I mean, they don't really want you to tell them anything that you're going to not do. You better be doing it, what you tell them. And so, like I say, I'm from Scott City, Kansas. That's a little small pucker brush town out in western Kansas where people know what you're going to do before you do it, and you better make it good. You better do it good. So that's what kind of the thing, the small town values. This is what I've brought to this business, is that I only, if I tell you that that's what it's going to be that way. I don't back down. Terry can tell you that.
So earlier this summer, you had a pretty cool tour going with the Swans and the Groth, I believe. That was a pretty nice tour. How did that go for you?
I'm going to tell you something. I hadn't been around those guys. I've had the Groth twins and stuff at my shows in Billings and Seattle, I think, and some places like that. And I really did like those guys. They're really good people. Everybody came as, we were like a team. I mean, it was like one for all for one, and trucks broke some. You got to remember, also had Ricky Fowler in there too. So we had 6 really good trucks out there. And then also Brian was in there too. So with those trucks and those guys, you'd go to the fairgrounds and they'd just all be sitting around, or they'd be over destroying their brand new $2,500 RC trucks or something. Oh my God, it was crazy. So you just didn't know what was going to happen, but it was never a dull moment. If they weren't doing something with action, they were talking about it. And what's good about that whole bunch, all kidding aside, is the Groth twins, and then Rick and and his son. This is all family type people. The Groth twins, good looking guys. They could be picking up any girl they want to. They don't do it. I hope their girlfriends are watching right now. They don't do that. They're good guys. They're all about it. They know they got little kids at home, and They're all just trying to make a little money and try to get this thing going. I mean, Ross actually took a truck out of a show so that Rick could get his in at that show. Well, that's the kind of stuff that and he goes, well, we stay there all the time. We owe him a little bit of this and that. And, so we got them to bring a ride truck. Next thing you know, they're doing the ride truck. They got 2 girls driving it. And, dude, you guys would be impressed with these girls. Beautiful women. And they could tire up that truck and they could drive the wheels off of it. Come to find out, both of them were drag racers. So they've been around and stuff. So having that summer was awesome. Got to ride my Harley up in Glacier National Park. All that stuff. Brand new motorcycle. I just took it up there, and that was in June. Our first show, June 13th, we were limited. We're limited with how much seats we could do and all this stuff. And we made the best out of it, and we made a little money, and everybody got paid. That's the cool thing.
Now you got that right, and I know one of those feature performers you had at least at one of your events this year was Team Bigfoot 4x4, and you've had a very unique relationship with them over years, including the partnership with the Bigfoot Bad Boy truck and contest. How did that come about, and what was that experience like?
Well, what was going down is that Bob Trent was taking huge leap into running that place. They had a couple different people that was kind of like their manager or whatever. Donna was there way back when, and just didn't seem like it could get very far with her with booking. I mean, they were trying to book themselves through, at the time it wasn't Monster Jam, it was guys like Phil, same people that the different people that owned it. And so all of a sudden Bob Trent came, and I said, what have I got to do to get you guys to get a truck? Well, give me the schedule you want. What? Give it to me. Email went blazing to St. Louis. I mean, I had supercharged that thing and put a little bit of nitro in it, and that thing went blazing up there, and he okayed all of them. And so next thing you know, started doing stuff, more stuff. And then I said, you know what? Everybody says that Bigfoot ain't a badass truck anymore. That's crap. Bigfoot is a badass truck. And at the time, they just had kind of limited their drivers, so to speak. It seemed like that's what was going on. But now we got, all of a sudden got this little guy with a goatee and big sparkle in his eyes, and all this stuff. And I'm gonna let you guys guess who that was. Next thing you know, I said, dude, that guy is a bad boy. That's what you need. And I said, what we need to do is name a truck after it. Let's call it the Bad Boy. So we had actually had a Bad Boy earlier, and that was Dave Rye for a while. And then before that, Greg Adams had it. And then that was a funny story. I'm going to do that real quick, jump off of here. So Bad Boy, that whole thing started back at Victorville, California. And that's where Greg couldn't be there, and he let Dave Rye drive it. I'm talking Dave Rye from Michigan. And so he went out there and he's destroyed this truck. So people were loving it, though. They went nuts. And that crowd is crazy in California. And so anyway, long story made short, here we go. Next thing you know, here they come back out on the track. And I started chanting, bad boy, bad. The whole crowd's doing that. So when I said to Bob Trent, that guy's a bad boy, that's whenever he put him in it, and we had the Bad Boy truck. And then we had, a couple contests about, because people said, well, it doesn't look quite right, or this doesn't right. What if we did this, or what if we did that? And then we had a contest that actually, where these guys got to draw it and do it. And you guys know who the winner of that was. So that turned out great, So good stuff. Fun deal with Bigfoot. I love those guys. I'm telling you, Bob and Ann and all that whole crew is amazing people. Good folk.
So, majority of your monster truck events have been branded under the name No Limits Monster Trucks, and I know you do a lot of stuff with that tagline. in some of the other promotions you do. And so I would like to ask, what does the term no limits mean to you?
Means no limits. See that right there? There you go. No. So what we do, everybody kept talking about, boy, I want to get in trouble, but that's okay. There's a safety organization out there. It starts with the M and ends with the A, okay? And they came up with so many rules that at the event cannot be checked. For instance, cubic inches. For instance, weight. All that kind of stuff. And I'm like, why are we having these rules, guys? And I was one of the people that started MTRA. I did say it, didn't I? So anyway, but that's what I said. Why are we doing this? This is stupid. We're saying, so many cubic inches, and we don't have anything to check that with, or no thing to, it just didn't work, or the weight either. So that's when I said, you know what? We need no limits. It's got to look like a monster truck. That's pretty much it. Got to have 66s on it or bigger. Got to have a V8 motor or bigger. Got to be, well, we had a diesel one too but it's got to be, big motor that shakes the deal. No mufflers, and let's bring it out, and let's don't pull any limits. Let's let the crowd have the biggest and best show they can.
You got that right, Vincent. What do you say?
Yeah, this is a question I usually ask, and it's going to be interesting coming from, a promoter standpoint. What advice do you have for someone looking to get their foot in the door in the monster truck industry?
Which foot? The one that wants to drive, that's what everybody wants to do is, well, I'm a driver. Really? Okay. So got to go first buy a monster truck or build one. Getting into the business, as far as getting into my part of it, like I've got an empty office over here. I'm ready to hire, I just hired a marketing girl. She's really turning some cool stuff around. The business is not just about, you got to get off the level. It's about monster trucks. It's not, it's about entertainment. And our job is to entertain these people with big rootin' trucks that make noise and do all sorts of wild things safely. That's what we got to do. So I think the best thing to do is ask. I have people that have said, how do I get into this? Next thing you know, they're being my event director. And that's kind of how it happens. It's not like, they got to have some, come to the shows, and it's kind of like what they call in the wrestling is it got to be like a prospect. You got to come there and show your worth, come there and help. When the guy's starting to put on his tire, Tom Mintz came to Dixie Speedway for me a few years back. And this is, of course, he was Monster Jam at the time. And I had Gravedigger and I had him, both of them there at that show. Had 14,000 people, biggest crowd that's ever been to that place. And when Tom was over there and he was putting on his own tire, and I reached up and I said, I got this. And I shoved it up on there and stuff like that. And he looked at me kind of funny. And he said, man, you are that guy, aren't you? Well, I'm that guy. Are you guys that guy? You want to be in this business? Talk to me. Ed at cfpracing.com or Ed at nolimitsmonstertrucks.com. And don't ask if you don't want to be in here. And don't ask the question if you can't stand the answer.
There you go.
Got that right.
I think this is going to be my final question tonight. I know Phil has more, but what has to be your favorite memory in motorsports in general so far?
Woo, that's a big one. If I got a month to answer that, okay. Favorite memory, probably being at the Silver Dome and it was sold out, and my name was up there in that big, thing. It had a big, vision with the video and all that, and I was like, man, I'm from Scott City, Kansas, and I've made it. That was the time that I actually knew that I had made it, was there in front of all those people. And They were screaming my name, and it was awesome. Fun stuff. Um, monster trucks, I think probably getting the due that what Pocatella stands for, finally getting the due. And I mean, when I say that is kind of everybody that was a Monster Jam fan kind of poo-pooed what happened over there. Well, and then all of a sudden it's like he's got buses, he's got boats, he's got cars. The only thing we haven't had is a train show up to Crush. I'm looking for one right now. That's Pocatella. The next step. That's what it is. And so, yeah, I think Pocatella being in front of that crowd, that's been a good one too.
Ed, you've conquered a lot. You've been a lot of places, and I know we're going to get to in a bit what you got coming up in 2021. But I always try to ask this for all of our guests: when it's all said and done, what do you want your legacy to be?
I don't want a legacy. I don't want to die. Okay. I will do this till I probably take no more breaths. That's what I think of this business. I mean, I'm so happy. This office that you see is 35 steps from my home. And I could step out that back door to the left, right over my shoulder, the other one, that one. Okay. And that's the back door. I can be there just real quick. And you know what? I spend more time out here than I need to. We're not 9 to 5, but you know what we are? We're an office. We're a professional organization. We ain't running this thing off of our cell phones like a lot of these guys are. So I really am happy with where we've been, what we've done. And I just think that I want people to remember how happy they've been whenever they went to our shows and had a great time.
And you're not done yet, because 2021 is right around the corner, and it's also going to be another weird year to kick off. And you again going to be one of the few promoters that's going to consistently have some sort of tour rolling, at least one event every weekend. So what's your expectations as we start the 2021 season?
Well, I'm hoping to God that this, and I talk to him a lot, but I'm hoping this serum or whatever you want to call it, this vaccine, magic drug comes along and wipes out the pandemic and gets everybody to shut the hell up about it, and because that's all they want to talk about. The seating now, for instance, in Pocatella, not Pocatella, I haven't done it yet. In Belton, I'm there January 15th and 16th. I went from 6,000 seats to 1,747. That's what the state is allowing. So that's pretty hard to make money. It's going to be hard to sell it out. When we did raise ticket prices some, because the want and the need is there, I just feel like that I want to get through this year, 2021. We brought motocross in with it, and Ryan is a big part of that. He and Brian and of course Sammy and a couple other people. Like I say, my buddy Charlie Shirley. I've got a great crew. I could stay home. I don't want to do that. It's cold outside. I don't want to ride my Harley. What else would I do? Sit in here and watch TV all day long? No, that's not Ed Beckley. If anybody's seen me, they're like, "You're 70?" I'm freaking 70 rocking years old, and I've got the scars to prove it. Got a little skin cancer right there that I've had. Get this, that happened in 2014. That's where the helmet actually hit and exploded my skull right there. And so I've got the chick dig scars. I've got those in business and in motorcycle jumping. But I think we're going to get through 2021. I think we're going to kick its ass. That's what I think.
Well, there you have it. And I know 2021, we want to try to have as much fans that are possible to be at the events. And I believe we talked about a little last night. You want to make sure some of those fans get there. Isn't that right?
Exactly. And so we've got, I don't care what, you can go to our website and check out our schedule. And I don't know if you guys still got that up or had it up. I know that. But what we can do is we want to do a ticket giveaway for every city that's on that deal. So somebody who's watching this is close to it and get a pair of tickets to go to the show, and we'll get a swag bag together too. So you got to go there though. Can't send you the swag bag when you're in California. You didn't go to the show that was, somewhat close to you or whatever. So just remember that. That's how it's going to go down. We're going to do that, and it's going to be up to these guys how they figure out how to do it.
Well, there you go. Looking at your schedule here, you got posted here Uvalde, Texas, Belton, Texas, and Shipshewana, Indiana, up on the schedule thus far. So if you're in those cities, you're nearby there, and you're looking to get out of the house and go see some No Limits monster trucks, send us a message or send Ed Beckley a message over at No Limits Monster Trucks, and we'll make sure you get to the event. We want to get everybody back out there, get a little sense of normalcy, and make sure that your butt's in the seat and you're having a good time.
That's right. And those are just the three that he's mentioned, but there's a whole lot more, okay? You have to roll that schedule a little bit on that website. But I'm going to tell you something. Whatever it is, it's going to be worth the trip.
We want to make sure you guys get there. And I tell you, Ed, it's been a pleasure even just doing something like that. We hope we can get somebody that maybe can't get to the event or just trying to on the fence, that we make sure that they get out there and have a good time and have a great time, as they have at the event as we had here tonight, having a conversation with you and sharing some stories and taking a trip down memory lane. Is that right, Vincent?
Definitely agree. From motorcycle jumping to promoting shows, we've covered a lot of it. I'm sure this won't be the last time we'll see you on the show.
I'm up for number 2 whenever you're ready.
And we hope so. We'll definitely take your word on it when we get down the road there. Okay. Ed, it's been a pleasure. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. And we hope you have a great holiday season, and we hope to see you out there sooner rather than later.
The only holiday I know is Merry Christmas. That's because our Lord Jesus Christ was born. Okay?
Got that right.
That's right. I'm a happy guy about that for sure. All right, guys. It's been fun. Okay? Don't hesitate to call me or write me. If you want to get in the monster truck business, send me something. Okay? I've already told you what my email is, ed@CFP Racing. It's actually ed@nolimitsmonstertrucks.com, but that's a lot to type. But I'm ready. So you guys have fun and be safe. And Vince and Phil, it's been wonderful talking to you guys.
And it's an honor to have you on here. We're very appreciative and can't wait to see you back out there.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks for coming on the show, Ed.
Thank you, Ed.
You bet, guys.
So that's Ed Beckley. If you're jumping in just late here, what a great episode. It's going to be here in our archives. You can re-watch it at any time. So that's why I want to make sure you guys like and share this video for anybody that wasn't able to join us live, that they can come in whenever they want. Check out Ed's story, and a lot of great things to come for Ed and Checkered Flag. I know a lot of people have a lot of optimism for 2021, and very appreciative for Ed being on board here with us and trying to do a little bit of a giveaway there and get some people out to the events that maybe not going to be able to get there if it wasn't for certain circumstances. So hopefully we'll get some people out there so we can get the events rock and rolling again, and everybody in the industry can get back to work and having a great time.
I think you forgot about something. We're on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, podcast.com, anywhere podcast.
I don't know if podcast.com is a website, but wherever you can find
anywhere
our audio.
You can find sound, as Phil likes to say. We are sound. We're everywhere, any place, anytime, YouTube, Facebook right here.
Yeah.
We're all over the place.
Yeah, Vinny got the gist of it. Let me just make sure you polish it. Audio only, wherever you find podcasts. Vinny got it straight covered there. Also on our Facebook feed, we had a lot of our past guests in the comments tonight. So make sure if you want to catch some of their episodes, check out our video feed here on our Facebook page, live podcast episodes. You'll see our entire library that we've done since we started here in the year 2020. And I do mention that because this is our last episode we're doing in 2020. Next week, we do these usually on Friday nights right now. It's Christmas. We're not going to do an episode on Christmas. But
Merry Christmas to everyone watching at home.
Absolutely. Wherever you're celebrating or however, make sure it's fun and safe. We plan on coming back here New Year's Day. We're working on great episode there to kick off our year, and I have a lot of great guests planned, and I know we've talked to a lot of folks, and I know a lot of people are probably waiting for a message, and I'm here to tell everybody we're going to get to you. We have a list of people that we want to have on board, and it's really in no order, but trust me, if you have some involvement in monster trucks, you're a driver, promoter,
send us a message.
Announcers. If you really want to be on board, send us a message. If not, check your messages, because I'm sure sooner rather than later, one of us are going to be in
We'll
your
be
DM.
knocking at your door.
We're knocking at your door, and we're going to want to hear your story on here. We're not slowing down, and as we continue on into the next year, we've been very proud of what we've built here, and there's been a lot of shifting around and changes, and we've been so appreciative. I know I'm appreciative of Vincent and a lot of the other people that have helped put this together at some point, and we hope to continue that on in 2021. And as the real events, we're really trying to get them back rolling again in so many capacities. We enjoy coming on here every week and telling a lot of different stories from past, present, and future of monster trucks. And we hope to continue to deliver that as we continue on here with the Monster Truck Outlaws of the West podcast.
100% agree with you. Quick shout out to Danny McGinley, Brian Anger for their behind the scenes work. A lot goes behind the scenes, like Phil said, and work doesn't go unnoticed. But like you said, the freight train ain't slowing down. We're not slowing down at all. We got a lot more episodes coming to you. 2021, the big return.
Be safe, guys. We'll see you soon. Stay tuned.
Stay tuned.